Hey, girlfriend, and welcome back to another Friday live stream at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Girlfriend, I want to say thank you so much for, just bearing with the delays today. I really do appreciate it. Usually, of course, we start at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today we were unable to do so, but here we are. Here we are. I see there's four of us in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I also want to say big ups and shout outs to the replay gang. I see you, I love you, and I really do appreciate your support and for tuning in to Find Natural Hair Rocks. Now, today, we're going to be talking about relaxers versus natural. I do want to preface this entire conversation with the fact that this can be and usually is a highly polarizing topic. And so, for that reason, I really do want us to make sure that we're, creating a space that's safe, a space that's full of love, acceptance, inclusion, all those kinds of things. And so for this conversation, what it will not be is, a conversation of natural hair is better than relaxed hair, or people saying like those who are relaxed are better than those who are naturals. Like none of that. Like in this space, all of it is accepted. But we're just here to talk about what exactly is going on with the community of Black women. Because whether you've got natural hair, if you've got relaxed hair, we're still all Black women in this space, or women who have textured hair if you don't identify as Black. Um, Hi, love yourself. Hi, Mary. What's up? Thank you so much for coming. Hi, Patricia. Thank you so much for coming through. I really do appreciate you, and I also appreciate the fact that you were accommodating to the fact that we're starting half an hour late. Full disclosure, I'm actually in a different location. I decided to come and visit New York for the week, and so I'm in New York City. That's where I am. So I'm really excited. It's a beautiful place. It's one of my favorite places to visit in the US. I mean, the culture, the people. I had thebomb.com oxtail today from this place called Fisherman's Cove in Brooklyn. It was delicious. And shout outs to my aunt, Yulandi Latham, for hooking that up. It was chef's kiss. Anywho, so relaxers versus natural. Girlfriends, I was one of those people, I have the story of I used to have a relaxer. And I had it as early as when I was 9, right? Not because my mom wanted me to have a relaxer, but because I actually wanted to have a relaxer. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, out in, boondocks, Ontario, Canada. It was just a situation whereby all the girls had like long flowing hair that swooshed back and forth, and I had this afro that, at the time there wasn't as much information, this fine natural afro at that, and no one really knew how to deal with it. My grandmother, may she rest in peace, she tried her best. My mom, she tried her best too. My aunts, everybody tried their best, and there just wasn't that much information as there is today. Island Girl says, I didn't know you lived in my hometown. You're from Toronto? Are you? I don't know what part of that you heard, Island Girl. So I'm visiting New York, but I'm not from New York, but I do love New York. Hi, Joan. Thank you so much for coming through. So my story with relaxed hair, perhaps it does bias my story with natural hair because I never had nice fine relaxed strands. It wasn't nice. It wasn't healthy. I wasn't rocking it. None of those things. It just wasn't looking good. Island Girl said, "Oh, sorry, I thought you said Brooklyn, New York." Yes, I did say Brooklyn, New York. I visited. I'm visiting right now. And I've been enjoying some really good food. One of the things that's amazing about New York City, like the food is not like untouched. Untouched, honestly. Toronto does not have the number when it comes to food. Like there's good food in Toronto, but not like Brooklyn, not like New York City. So anywho, I digress. So hopping back into the story, I did end up getting that relaxer and my hair broke off. And I lived in weaves. I literally lived in weaves. And so they weren't like this one where it's like, it's really nice and things are blending, it's looking good, it's looking cute. My edges are all intact because I do implement the same things that I tell the girlfriend crew about each and every Friday and Mondays. None of that. It was like literally like this little piece of leave out that would stick and jut out. It would break off. I'd get the scalp burns, all that goodies. And so 2009 hit, or not goodies, probably baddies. But anyways, in 2009, that hit. And there was like this natural hair movement. And I don't know, you let me know, girlfriend, in the chat, when did you go natural? That's what I'd like to know. Cause I went natural in 2009 and I haven't looked back since. Like it's literally been like at least 13 years now, 14 years, and I have not looked back, right? I don't know if you have, but I see a trend here on YouTube. I've seen a couple of videos now. One in specific by oh my goodness, I forgot her name, but the video is literally called "The Rise and Fall of the Natural Hair Community," and I've heard people talking about this for a while, and it's a little concerning, not gonna lie. I don't have, again, like, I don't have judgment for those who have natural relaxed hair. Like, if it works for you, great. But just looking at it like factually and objectively for myself, from like a health perspective, like, number one, my hair wasn't looking good, and number two, it's chemicals, right? Like, we're living in a society, we're living in a world where every chemicals are all around us. And so, when did you go natural? I see a couple of people are hopping in. Clary says 2011. Patricia says I went natural in 2014. Love Yourself says I went natural in 2015 and will not go back to perms. Yes, Clary, welcome. You made it to live. You absolutely made it. And Patricia, you're right. She says, I miss the food back home. It's phenomenal. It really is. Hey, Nadoom. Sheila says, went natural 2011. Nadoom went natural 2010. So, yeah, most of us have been natural for a minute here. So, I want to ask you, like, I know Love Yourself said we'll never go back to perms, but we seem to be moving in a direction here where, like, the perms are becoming more and more popular. Like, I've seen hairstyles where, the shaved ends require that like smooth look. Maybe the top is kind of curly, like those short dudes are kind of coming back, and it's really, really interesting. Patricia says, I received my Fine Natural Girl t-shirt. That's amazing. Oh, I'm so excited for you. Are you liking it? I know a couple of other people have received their orders as well too. Girlfriend Crew, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am talking about our merch, which I'm actually wearing one right now. So this one is the Curlfriend FNHR Curlfriend top. It just says Fine Natural Hair Rocks at the bottom, and you can absolutely get your own. Usually there should be a link at the bottom of this video right here that connects you directly to our Spreadshirt shop. So if you do want to check that out, if you have any issues at all, you can contact the Spreadshirt team directly and get immediate responses. If you want to contact me directly about any questions, issues, any of that stuff, I'm here for you. You can absolutely contact me as well via email. And my main email address is finenaturalhair@gmail.com. So don't be afraid to reach out if you have any questions about sizes, pricing, whatever. The merchandise is available for those who are in the US as well as those who are in Canada. I'm so happy that you received it and that you like it, Patricia. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Absolutely. Full disclosure, all proceeds from the merch line will be going towards the hair care line, to build out and, create the hair care line that we need so much. So, but yeah, jumping back into the whole relaxers versus natural thing, like, I guess I'm just afraid of a reality where it becomes taboo again. Like, do you think that that's going to happen? Because, like, this movement, I don't know, like, if it was a trend or if it's a way of life. For me, being natural is a way of life. Like, I'm never going to go back. I don't want the scalp burns. I really don't want the chemical, endocrine disruptors. What else is there? Like, potentials for cancers, like, perm, those relaxers, those chemicals, they're real things, right? They're real hazards. And again, no dig on the relaxed community, but for me and mine and the health concerns that are real there, it's just really big. But one of the things I want to ask you, I don't know if I necessarily experienced this in my life or if I noticed it, but oftentimes people say that, even when they're natural, they were wearing a lot of wigs. They felt that they had to cover up their hair with scarves. Maybe they had to wear turbans. Like, they weren't feeling like it was beautiful in and of its natural state. And, like, if they were going to be taking their hair to, say, like the club, for example, like, one thing that I saw a YouTuber say was like, and she said it specifically like this: ain't nobody going to the club rocking a fro. And I was like, is that a real thing? Because, like, I mean, if I'm being totally transparent and honest, I don't necessarily remember going to the club with a fro per se. It doesn't mean it never happened. It's just it didn't happen more often than not. There's another thing that people talk about, that, like, people don't want to wear their braids to the club, right? Like box braids is not considered a sexy style. And I find that really interesting because, we see some of our favorite celebrities. Like I've seen box braids on everyone from Janet Jackson, like Hello Poetic Justice, to like Beyonce. Like people are rocking their braids. Like since when was going natural not considered sexy? I'm going to hop into the comments here. Patricia Jenkins says, I will never go back to relaxers. They used to burn my scalp. Absolutely. And the thing about that, because, as a child, I do believe that I had thicker hair. I think we all probably likely had thicker hair as children because just naturally you're a child, you're a brand new body, you're a brand new human being. Whatever you have is going to be in its perfect state, its perfect glory if you are a healthy child. And so, now, like, I feel like had that relaxer not happened, maybe the hair wouldn't have been as fine as it is. I don't know, because like when I speak to my mom, I don't remember her. She doesn't recall my hair being fine. It was always something like it's thick. Now we know chemicals can change your texture. We know it can burn the scalp, and to that point, like every day we get older, do we really want to be including a chemical on top of an aging process that's naturally happening, right? Especially if it's something that has been shown to damage the scalp and thin out the hair. So I love that you brought that up, Patricia, because I think that that's a really good point. Like for me, it's less about the look, because like I do feel like relaxed hair is, it can be more easier to maintain. It can be easier to manage, but I don't think that it's necessarily easier. And I think this might be a polarizing topic here. I don't think it's easier to manage than natural hair. You let me know. Do you think that your relaxed hair was easier to manage than your natural hair? While you think about that and maybe hop into the comments on that piece, I'm going to see what Clary's saying. Clary says, I've worked at feeling comfortable as I am. I'm concerned about the chemicals. I love that. And you know what? That's real talk right here. And that's why I love the Curlfriend Crew so much, because Clary, you hit it on the nail in the realest way possible. Like, it's work. It's a journey. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and say, like, I always felt comfortable wearing my natural hair. Absolutely not. Right. Like, we all live in this Eurocentric society. We all have to operate, live, work, play, make money, make a lifestyle for ourselves in an environment that doesn't celebrate Black beauty. Right. And so that was something for me. And it's one of the reasons why I'm actually shocked, girlfriend. Like, I'm shocked that Fine Natural Hair Rocks is almost 10,000 girlfriends strong. We're nearly at 9,000. We're inching our ways on up because it was always meant to be a small enclave on Instagram that was just like, a picture, video, diary, journal. So to kind of keep my hairstyles and feel a little bit better about what was growing out of my scalp that I wasn't necessarily seeing in mainstream media as a form of beauty. The other piece that I have to bring up about that is the fact that like 4C hair, like I've got 4C strands, I have 4B strands, I have 4A strands. I it's a blend of all four. So I just say type 4 and that's it. But that's not necessarily as celebrated. We see more of it now, but you're right. Becoming comfortable is a huge, massive thing. And the chemicals, like we don't know what we're, consuming when we eat. We don't know what we're inhaling when we breathe. To add to that situation is just kind of insane, right? Patricia, there is a wave of girls going back to relaxers. I'm not wanting to jeopardize my health since knowing how it could affect someone's health. Exactly. Like that piece, I think, is the biggest part is the health bit. Like, if it were a process, if it were something that I could do that we could do without suffering health consequences, then I think I would have been a little bit more likely to maybe veer in that direction and then veer back and then come back. But the health piece, like more life. Like I'm always team more life. Patricia, the burns are bad memories, and I got my first relaxer in my 20s. Wow. So good on you for holding out. Number one, that's excellent that you don't necessarily have, since childhood history of having relaxers, which even that we don't have enough information to know what does that do to a child's head. We've got kiddie relaxers versus adult perms and relaxers, but is it really less chemicals? Is no lie really better than lie? I don't know, right? And no one knows because I don't think there has really been any studies on that, any empirical data, empirical evidence for us to really know whether or not relaxers on children's heads is causing issues with the tiny little developmental brains, right? Or let alone adult brains. And so the burns are bad. I remember like scabs, and I mean TMI if this is something that you don't like to hear about health concerns, skin concerns, all of that. I'm gonna give you the trigger warning. But I remember the scabs, like they were bad. They would hurt. They would like I remember like you comb your hair and it could pick at it. Like it was bad. I won't go into any more further details than that, but I mean, it wasn't a good situation. And it's kind of refreshing to be able to know that, when you're dealing with natural hair, you don't have to do those things. You don't have to play with chemicals that are potentially harming your current health or future health just to achieve a style. Clary, isn't it sad how scalp burns were normalized? Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. It was crazy. Like I remember one time, because I went natural before one time before going natural finally permanently as I am now. And I remember I got a perm. Mind you, I was never the person who was getting the perms like back to back to back to back to back. Like my permed hair was not healthy. It wasn't upkept. I wasn't doing the cholesterol treatments and the protein treatments and the moisturizing treatments and being in the salon chair all the time. I wasn't doing all of that stuff, not at all, right? And so those scalp burns, I remember number one, when I first got like a virgin perm, let me know in the comment section if you remember what those virgin perms were on like fresh hair, right? Got the virgin perm, and I remember the stylist was like, your hair, like this is not how it should look. Like you just got a perm, like you literally have no hair left. Like, and it's not because it broke off, it's just it all became so limb. And it similarly looks like that when I flat iron it, right? And that's just how natural hair works, fine natural hair works. But I remember getting burnt, and I told her I was burnt, and it's not even like you could say, well, oh, the relaxer wasn't done properly. It's not like you could turn around and say, maybe this person doesn't know what they're doing. No, like that was actually accepted. It was expected. That if you got a good perm, you might get a little burn. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, why am I burning? Like, I don't understand. So, I mean, it's insane. It really absolutely is insane that we were at a stage where something that's a clear health concern, like getting burnt on your scalp, is a health concern. Like, I shouldn't be seeing or feeling any types of chemical burns on skin that's so close to the brain, right? Like, that's pretty massive. And so, it's strange. It was really a strange time to be around. And I worry that that time is going to come back. Patricia says they have a big class action going on against relaxers, saying they cause cancer. Yes, I did see that. I saw that class action. And I think I was actually contacted by somebody to put out more information on Fine Natural Hair Rocks about that. And so, because it's so polarizing, like I never want to be in a situation where Fine Natural Hair Rocks is pitting Black women against other Black women. That is not what we're about. This is about empowerment. This is about, love and growth and all things blessed and good for Black women and women in general in our community. Like we want good things. We've got enough negativity in the world, don't want any more of it. But I do think that there is a public health advisory concern or metric or something that's important that comes along with the fact that like relaxers do cause cancer. The other chemical that was really highly linked towards cancers was like powder. Like I don't know if you guys remember the talc powder. Slightly off topic, but spelled TALC. Powder, and it was like the baby powder by Johnson and Johnson. A lot of Black women, specifically, and I want to focus on Black women for this one. A lot of Black women would put that powder in like their, genitals. They put it under their armpits, like it was meant to like cool them down in the heat. Which it's very hot right now. I actually have my fan going because it's boiling. But anyways, and it was found that that caused cancer as well. Like a lot of these practices that were normalized within the Black community are actually quite detrimental to our health. And the human rights lawyer that I am, anti-Black racism expert that I am, like I wonder how much of that was accidental and how much of it was intentional. But nevertheless, yes, I absolutely have seen the relaxers, the lawsuits going on, and I wish and hope to God that they are very successful, that the class action is successful. And I encourage each and every one of you, if you are in that jurisdiction where you are able to get some of that compensation because you are part of the class action in terms of the individuals impacted by the chemical relaxers, go and get that money. Even if it's just $20, whatever it is, get it. It's not because you're dying of dire need of $20, whatever it is, the amount. It's just sending that message that this is not okay. Patricia says it was a bit easier, but not much to have relaxed hair. That's interesting. Patricia, I want to, if you can share more, if you're comfortable, because I love to hear those fine naturals who had a good time with the relaxers. Like for me, I always have to address that bias. Like it was never beautiful. It was never thick. It was never long. It was never even one length. Like it was an awful time in my life when I had relaxers. So it's just all bad. Like there's no good to that story. It's just all bad. And it was expensive. Can we talk about that too, girlfriend crew? Like it was expensive. Like in my view, I do believe that natural hair is cheaper than relaxers. And I know there has to be someone out there who doesn't feel the same. Replay gang, feel free to hop in the comments as well on any of this, because this is your conversation. This is all for you, and for us. But I mean, as it relates to the cost, like I just feel like with natural hair, yes, there's a lot of products out there. Yes, there's a lot of tools out there, but you don't necessarily need those things in order to be successful. The other piece that I think is really important, with relaxers versus naturals, is that with relaxed hair, like you kind of, if you want it done properly, you want someone who really has perfect view of your head, perfect view of like what's going on with your strands. You really do probably need somebody who is going, like you're going to go to the salon, right? And then to also put the texture back in, because most people who I understand wear relaxers, myself included, it was never that you were just going to get the relaxer and then walk straight. It was that you get the relaxer and then you probably have to do a press and curl, or you probably have to do maybe some passes with a heat tool of some sort to give it some body, to give it some bounce, right? And I just feel like unless you were able to do that yourself, which a lot of us weren't, myself included, it just never looked the same as it did coming out of the salon. You would have to pay money to get that done. Island girl, I didn't get my hair relaxed that much, but I had a sensitive scalp, so it burned me or took my edges out. Yeah, your story, that's all too common. Like, I wish and pray that that story, that experience of having a sensitive scalp, getting burns, your edges are falling out, like literal clumps of hair. I've heard people have clumps of hair falling out in the salon, in the basin, right? And that's like the norm. Like that's not like a exception to what was going on. Like that happens so often. Most women have that story. And that's really scary. Patricia, I don't miss the creamy crack, and I don't judge a person who's going bat tit for personal reasons. Exactly. That's the thing, right? And the reason why I agree with you and I don't judge either is because, like, we're all at different stages of our journey. I'm perfectly comfortable walking into a boardroom with my natural hair, be it in braids, be it in one of my head wraps, my silk line head wraps, be it in the weave that I've got right now, whatever my heart desires in that moment, guess what? That's what's showing up in the boardroom. And that's the way it should be. I mean, every other race, every other nationality, every other individual who does not have textured strands is able to wake up and go with whatever their heart feels like doing with their hair. So, to me, it's a form of like not only resistance, but just being a human being, with free will and with autonomy to do what I want with my hair when I want it. And so, not everybody is there though, right? That's just my personal experience. Patricia, it sounds like it's yours as well, whereby you don't miss the creamy crack. But I mean, the fact that like some of us might be there and others are not just means that we got to work a little bit harder to pull the group in. Like my goal here on Fine Natural Hair Rocks is, for there to be at least 100,000 of us, maybe 1 million of us who identify with fine strands or fragile natural strands that require a little bit more extra help, right? And I do believe we're going to get there. The more we normalize this type of beauty, the more we normalize the fact that most people do have fine strands, fine natural hair, is the more that we're going to be in a space where we can start to actually see representations of that, far reaching and far beyond, right here on YouTube. I'd love to see, fine natural hair in its beauty and glory on television. I'd love to see it in movies. I'd love to see on billboards. I'd love to see on the cover of, Vogue. Like these things to me, like they're real. It's a real hair characteristic. It's a real thing. And many women have it. And, hiding under wigs and weaves, like, yes, there's a time and a place for that. But I don't, I wish to see the day where like there's more representation of different forms of beauty and not just always the same look all the time. Patricia, they also said relaxers are linked to fibroids. Yes, that's one that we all know. We know the fibroids thing so much. Oh my gosh, that piece, like it hits and triggers near and dear to the heart because so many black women do have fibroids. Like fibroids are known to be prevalent in African American women. And I do they have made connections to relaxers. So there's that bit as well. And it really, to me, it also begs the next question, right, girlfriend? Like, if we do have members of our community who are so, you know, they're in such a dark place, they're in such a state where they're unable to see and weigh the health risks over the look, which you can achieve with natural hair if you just blow it out. You could be a straight natural, whatevs, minus the chemicals. But it really makes me wonder, like, where could that woman be? Where is that person at if they're feeling that broken, that dark? They're just in that such a hopeless state that having health concerns is comes below achieving this look, right? And I do think it's something that we need to gather around, rally around, and help each other in that way. Because again, like somebody else had mentioned earlier, like it's not something that you just wake up with and you now feel comfortable rocking a fro. Like that is something that comes with time there, and we all talked about it, about being real and saying, like, look, like there have been times where I rocked my natural hair and I didn't necessarily feel beautiful. I remember when I had my teeny weeny afro, looking back on the pics, they're gorgeous. It was such a pretty style. And at the time I felt like I was sticking out like a sore thumb in public, and not in a good way. And so, I recognize that there are people who are there and just want to get rid of that feeling, especially if you're somebody who's accustomed to wearing your hair a certain way, getting a certain amount of attention on the roads, be it by men, members of the opposite sex, members of the same sex, whatever, right? Like you're accustomed to gaining a certain reception in public with straight strands, and then you go and you go natural and you lose that perception. That could be really difficult for a lot of people as well. Patricia, my parents are the reason I didn't get one before 20. Nice. They were right that I didn't need it, but back then stylists didn't want to deal with natural hair and the lack of resources until the 2010s. It's so true. I do remember, like, I have friends, two really good friends of mine. Shout out to Alicia and shout out to Nikita, who have natural hair and they've never ever had a relaxer, ever. And I remember, like, in the early 2010s, that they would go to a salon and people would flat out say they can't do their hair. Like they would always have to get their hair done. Nikita would do her hair herself. Like she would just like straighten it, and my friend Alicia, she would like go get her braids. Now she's got gorgeous locks. She would just do her own thing, right? And so, but it was never that they could walk into a salon and be taken care of. Like that's a problem too, and I never want to see that happen again. Although I'm worried that that might happen again, because I don't think natural hair is as lucrative for salons and hairstylists as, say, relaxed hair. Like you can throw a relaxer in someone's hair really quickly, press it out, and boom, get the next person in your chair, right? Whereas with natural strands, number one, it takes a long time to wash because you don't want to be ripping through the strands. Number two, it takes a long time to get through that wash process because, if you're doing it properly, you do need to put like some type of a moisturizing treatment, some type of a protein treatment. Like if your goal is length and health on natural strands, particularly fine strands, you and treatments should be best friends. Like if you're avoiding treatments or you're skipping treatments, like breakage is going to be knocking at your door real soon, because fine strands, they just don't deal well with that. And all those things that I'm mentioning, all those conversations that we talk about in the almost 400 videos here on Fine Natural Hair Rocks, which is crazy as I'm saying that. There's almost 400 videos. They take time. It takes time to sit down, learn, grasp what's going on with your hair, understand what products work best. You can have a fantastic wash day and you can have a really bad wash day doing the exact same steps, but with different products. And I've experienced that. You can go to a salon and they don't know how your hair operates and end up with like breakage because the products that they used are not working very well for your fine strands. Sheila, Sheila Noyola. Ooh, I like that. With relaxer, my hair fell out daily. Ugh, because it looked like it should have been earlier to maintain. I didn't take care of it and it fell out even more. My ponytail was more of the scrunches than hair. Yeah, you see, like that story is so common. And like I feel like I was like yourself, I was dealing with so much breakage that I didn't even know that like my hair could retain length. Like I didn't even know that. And so that's so many people's stories. Lovely 131, how to prevent single strand knots. That's a really great question. I'm actually going to go ahead and I know I'm a little bit behind on the comments, but I am going to go ahead and find a video for you that I think is really helpful, where we did talk about single strand knots. And girlfriend, you let me know in the comment section, like, have you dealt with single strand knots? Have you found a way to like avoid that and, still keep your hair growing and flourishing? I'm gonna just drop this in here for you, lovely 131, if you're still here. So this video is about single strand knots, which I just abbreviated to SSKs. And it shows exactly how you can get rid of that. But the short, sweet, and easy answer to that is that you probably need to be deep conditioning your hair more often. You probably need to be trimming your hair more often, to avoid the single strand knots. And those are frustrating. Like, that's something that I think is attractive to relaxers and people who wish to get a relaxer, is that if you've got a relaxer, chances are likely you probably don't have any more single strand knots because there's nothing to single strand knot on, right? Like, it's all just straight, the texture's completely wiped out. And so at least you don't have to deal with that, because single strand knots, they're annoying, right? They really are. But I mean, if you are using the right products, if you are doing the right things, you're learning your regimen, you're learning your hair, you're implementing the things that are working best for you, you should start to see a lot less of those single strand knots. My hair is at the longest it's ever been, and I kid you not, girlfriend, like, I don't see single strand knots as often as I did before. And when they do start to crop up, that tells me that I probably need a trim. And they usually start to crop up around the 3-4 month mark. So I think that's a really good thing to know if you are suffering from that. But the video goes into in more further details. Clary, burning is a big red flag. Yes. And we ignored it. Yes. In any other situation, we'd be getting medical advice. Oh my gosh, snap, 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 snap for that. So true. Each to their own, but it's not for me. I do think it can look attractive, but it's a risk. And that's the worst part about it. It does look attractive. I'm not going to sit up here and say that relaxed strands don't look attractive. When relaxed hair is done well, when it's healthy, it absolutely is very pretty. There's so many things that you can do with it. It could be a boiling hot day the way it is, here in New York City today, and you can still literally like look the same like you looked when you left the house. Natural hair doesn't operate like that. Like, thank goodness I have a weave right now that's got some texture. I purposefully did that because I knew my roots were going to start looking like this, right? Like, I knew the coilies were going to come out, and I knew that I didn't want to fight it. Like, it is what it is. This is what natural hair looks like. If I like length, I'm going to go for length that matches the texture that I have so that I'm not fighting and doing a tug of war with my strands. But yes, for relaxers, if you want that laid slayed, that slay bay look that's all over like TikTok and Instagram right now, and you want to stay like that when you leave the house and when you come back to the house, then yeah. And that's where the creamy crack thing comes from, because it's like, once you achieve that look and then you get used to that look, I could see how it could be really difficult for people to break free from that. Oops. Patricia, relaxers wasn't easier for me. My styles never lasted. Yeah, and that was my experience. Like, your styles never lasted, Patricia. My styles never were. I never had any styles. Like, I kid you not. There were some areas of the top was like this. Then there might have been like a long strand at the back. Like, it was so choppy. Like, it literally looked like there was like a mower across my head, and the person was just doing randomness with the mower, like just clip in wherever they wanted to clip. It was awful. So there were no styles. No styles whatsoever. But yes, if you're one of those naturals, if you're one of those fine stranded curl friends who your styles just weren't working for you when you had relaxers, then I mean, that's another reason why, like, that plus the health concerns, like, it's not really a hard decision of not going back. Patricia, I had issues when it was relaxed, long, a bit fine, but never limb. My hair has always been fine, but I have a lot. Yeah, and that's the thing. So I think I didn't have issues when it was relaxed. It was long, a bit fine, but never limb. Yeah. If you've got fine strands, but you've got a lot of density, then that can also camouflage what's going on up there. Like, I've got a lot of density. I have had, now that our platform is growing, we're much bigger than we were, say even a year ago. Sometimes people come on Fine Natural Hair Rocks and they're like, why are you saying you have fine strands? You don't have fine strands. And the thing is like, fine strands refers to the individual strand itself and not the whole head. So I don't have fine density, but I do have fine strands. And there are some fine naturals out there who do have fine strands and who do have low density, meaning you can probably see through the strands, you can see a lot of scalp. There are people who have high density, which is what it sounds like Patricia, you have, whereby you can part and you'll never see scalp. Me, I can part, I will see scalp. So I would say that I have medium density fine strands, but yes, that's a big misconception that kind of people with fine strands tend to deal with. Getting relaxers 3 times a year, that's pretty decent. So that, when I was initially going natural and like the hair community was exploding here on YouTube, there was something called folk key back in the day as well too. I remember that it was actually a healthy thing to go in with a relaxer 3 times per year, like kind of stretch your relaxers, because I think people started waking up to the fact that like it's not healthy, it's dangerous. And there are ways to do that. But I mean, with the relaxer, getting a relaxer more often could definitely negatively impact both your body as well as your hair, because it would fall out if they were overlapping. Island girl, I didn't get my first relaxer until my 20s and only 2 or 3 times a year. So you're like Patricia. My hair was so low density. Okay, it looks very scalpy when it's straightened. Yeah, and for people who do have low density strands, I feel like going natural is a godsend. It really is. Because going natural when your hair is curly, when it's frizzy, and you've got natural strands, you can kind of camouflage what's going on up there. But if everything is straight, you're gonna see everything that's going on up there no matter what. And so I totally get that. I wasn't relaxing my hair a ton either. It really was maybe relaxed once a year, I would say. Because at some point, like I couldn't even afford it. In undergrad, that wasn't a style that I was able to maintain. I certainly wasn't able to go to the salon. And I moved from one predominantly white neighborhood to another predominantly white neighborhood. So I moved from just outside Brampton before undergrad to Ottawa. Ottawa, Ontario. It was super, like, there were no people of color in Ottawa at all. And, if there's no people of color, there's not going to be any salons either. So it was just a hot mess. It really was. Thank you, Clary. I appreciate you, girlfriend. I feel like I know what you're talking about. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really appreciating that you're loving this discussion, this conversation. To that point, if you're like Clary and you're absolutely enjoying this live stream, you're enjoying Find Natural Hair Rocks, and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. And also go ahead and tap that notification button as well too, so that you never miss another video, you never miss notifications. Sometimes things happen like today, whereby we were scheduled to go for 5 p.m., but I got caught up in New York traffic, and here we are at 5:30 instead. If you're subscribed to Find Natural Hair Rocks, you will be part of the Curlfriend crew to get those updates right away, and you won't be left out in the lurches. Also, I do upload new videos every single Monday, a brand new longer video usually. Smaller short form videos are uploaded almost daily at this point. So if you are looking for something quick about your natural hair, you want to stay up to date, you really want to get your strands from point A to point B, start enjoying some length and some more thickness, as insofar as your hair can. You definitely want to be checking back to Find Natural Hair Rocks often. And also, if you need a little boost, you want to feel like you're connected to the Curlfriend crew offline and in the real world, then definitely go ahead and check out the links down below where you can grab some merch. I'm wearing one right now. It's just a little Afro girl. And there's also other merch as well on the channel too, on the website as well, that says specifically Find Natural Hair Rocks. And it's just a nice way for us to be connected to each other in real time, in real life. Patricia, my coworkers were shocked when they saw my natural hair. While transitioning, it was in a bun. And then when I learned to do wash and goes, it was easier to be free to wear my hair. Now they're used to it. Isn't it interesting how we had to get people used to like how we look with natural hair? Like, I feel like when I wear my wash and goes, my hair shrinks up. Like, people are still, amazed, as they should be, because it is an amazing thing to be able to go from like a fro this tight, this short, like I've got 95% shrinkage, down to like hair that's like literally like just brushing like my hair is now a little bit past armpit length. And so that is quite incredible. If we really sit back and think about it, that is quite incredible. And it's actually one of the things I love the most about fine strands, the most about natural hair, fine natural hair, is the fact that like it really does camouflage itself. Like you can be that, sister or whoever rocking the short do, and then the next day you could wake up and be like, you know what, this wash day I don't really feel like that look, I'm gonna go and blow out my strands. And for those of you who you use non-heat methods, you could use banding, you could use heat methods like the Revere. If you're interested in that, it's very expensive. You can definitely take advantage of our Curlfriend Crew code, which is down below. But it's just so nice, the versatility that we have, right? And that's one of the things that I'm not willing to give up personally. Like, I love texture. I absolutely love texture. I don't care what's going on as a trend on YouTube, TikTok, whatever, as it relates to hair. Like, I love texture, and it just, to me, it's scary to lean into a relaxer and just be stuck with this one texture that can't really do much other than stay straight. Yeah. So Patricia, like, your comment just triggered a whole bunch of thoughts in my mind. My mind just started firing off because I know we've all been there when you go to work and you're rocking one style and then you're rocking another, and your coworkers are like, how did you do that? Like, they're genuinely confused, and I can't even be mad at it. I can't even say, that's being ignorant, because I myself am quite amazed at how much natural hair can do. And we didn't even start talking about twists and braids and all that stuff. Island girl, I had fibroids while I was using relaxers. I'm so sorry to hear that. I mean, the good thing about fibroids is like it's highly curable. You should, any of you who are dealing with fibroids, you should go check out my girl, what Dawn did in heels. She's on Instagram. She actually had fibroids that were so large her stomach was really extended. She was told that she couldn't have children. She was told she needs to get a hysterectomy. She was absolutely somebody who had a lot of relaxers back in the day. And she was very late to the natural hair game. I don't know if she's natural, actually. I think she recently went natural. Anyways, what Dawn did in heels, she does talk about her fibroid journey in very, like, a lot of details. I'm just gonna go ahead and just drop her handle for those of you who are interested, and let her know that Fine Natural Hair Rock sent you over to her. She'll be really happy. She's a sweetheart. If you like Fine Natural Hair Rocks, you will like what Dawn did in heels. But yeah, fibroids, relaxers, like, that connection is scarily strong. It's so strong. Clary, I taught myself to ignore the knots. They have improved over time. Yeah, single strand knots are just something that I feel is part and parcel with having natural hair. We just got to get comfortable with the fact that, like, if you've got fine natural strands, you cannot use fine tooth combs. You cannot be, combing through it, styling it all the time. Like, you really do have to embrace the fact that, like, it's going to knot up. It's going to have, like, it's gonna be tangly. Like, fine strands, natural strands, period, absolutely love to be with each other, and that's the beauty of it, right? And so I feel like, if you get into a good routine of ignoring the knots, like Clary said, and then maybe dealing with the knots like on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, that's all you really need. Like, we cannot implement straight hair techniques on natural hair. Like, it just will never work. Hi, V2B 2010. Hi, everyone. I don't have any desire to go back to using chemicals to relax or texturize my hair. I detest the smell of relaxer now. I also don't like the smell of excessive blow drying heat on natural hair. On hair, sorry. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It does have a very strong scent. It is very damaging to the environment as well. Like, we didn't even start talking about the environmental damage. Like, I came across an article, I think it was yesterday when I was flying in to New York, and it was talking about the fact that, like, we're not in global warming anymore. We're now in global boiling. And obviously chemicals have a huge part in that. So many of us who watch Fine Natural Hair Rocks, we're aunties, we're mothers. Some of us are grandmothers. And, like, what kind of a world are we leaving the next generation in if we're, like, adding to this craziness, right? So for me, sustainability, environmental concerns are huge. And even, like, just thinking beyond, like, humankind, like the animals, right? Like, there's so many people, there's so many other beings, live organisms that rely on this world to turn and to be alive. And a small part of, like, avoiding that, adding to the damage and the issues, is, like, avoiding as much chemicals as possible. I was actually really happy when chemical sales were going down. and now they're going back up. Like, I think I heard somewhere there's like a 400% increase in the sales of relaxers, which is crazy. I'm like, what drove that? Girlfriend, I'm asking you actually. I'm going to put it out there for you. If you know, what was the facilitating factor? What was the one thing that launched this chain of events towards doing relaxers? Because we were going strong. We've been going strong on this natural hair movement from since 2009. And I want to say pre pandemic, just before the pandemic, I think I had a conversation with somebody in the natural hair community whereby I was like, I don't think it's a trend. I think natural hair is here to stay. And while I do still believe that, I don't think I'm as strong in that opinion today as I was yesterday, if you know what I mean. Like, I just feel like the way TikTok is going is so influential, the way Instagram is going, the way YouTube is even going. Social media is showing us that obviously, there is a renewed interest in relaxers. And we're going through all the reasons why that is problematic for, it's more problematic than not. Without, of course, the judgment towards those who do choose to go down that route. Island Girl, I definitely have fine, low density hair. You can see my scalp. Yes. So I mean, and that's again, like, it's gonna be so good for you to be able to have those curls. Those curls are everything. And I can see why you would go natural in having that type of hair characteristic. Quilly Code, what's up, girlfriend? You made it. What's up? Anybody who's here, I see there's a little bit of us here in the crew now. Thank you so much for joining in. Again, shout outs to the replay gang. I know there's a significant replay gang that likes to hang out and check out these videos. If you are part of the replay gang, let me know in the comment section down below. Don't be shy, because, yeah, this is a party here. We're just here to, support each other, lift each other up. V2B 2010. Shrinkage does help my hair look more full, right? Shrinkage is a godsend for fine natural strands. Like, if you've got fine strands and you've got shrinkage, that's a good thing. That is a good place to be. There have been tons of times where I've used too much styler and, maybe too much gel, and now all of my density is gone. I can count on shrinkage each and every time to thicken the look back up. Like, it's so awesome. Shrinkage can be a beautiful thing if you know how to use it properly. Coily Code. I look bald with relaxers and straight hair. Honestly, so do I. So do I. It's the reason why you never really see me coming on here with like a press. Although my last press was kind of cute, but even that press, and I have some pictures in the community tab if you wanted to check it out. You absolutely can. But I do feel like, having humidity in the air, moisture in the air, it does help presses look better for fine strands. But yeah, it's a lot. It really is. It's a lot when it comes down to like just how much of the hair is lost because of like a relaxer or a straightened look. Clary, Patricia, yes, I shocked my colleagues too. You guys are so funny. Lovely 131, how to get rid of single strand knots. So I don't know if that comment came in beforehand, but I did share a link. I'm gonna go ahead and at you, lovely 131. Make sure that you get that video. Oh yes, it's still there. Perfect. So yeah, if you check out that video, I do share exactly what I do and the things that I mentioned in that video. It's an older video, but I still do those things to this day, and it's still very, very helpful to me to this day. Clary, deep conditioning more often with heat helps with reducing knots over time. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. That's exactly what helps. Absolutely 100%. And if you are a low porosity natural, deep conditioning more often with heat is going to help a lot. Or even if you're a medium porosity natural, but if you're more of like a high porosity natural, you might want to skip the heat. But I mean, that's probably complicating things more than it needs to be. Deep conditioning will help you. I'll leave it at that. Coily Code. So true. I think relaxers have an ease of styling to it. Some probably do it because of the criticism that natural hair would cast dispersions in kinkier and coilies textured. So yes, I think that for some, relaxers probably are a lot easier to style, especially if you're one of those people who just like to rock a ponytail and go. That could be a hard style to implement if you've got natural strands, if you're looking for the swish swish type thing. But I feel like, once you let go of what you think and perceive natural hair should be, it becomes easier. So like if you can, you're going natural and you can feel okay with the look of like, maybe a teeny weeny afro, you pull it on the top. One of the last videos I did actually talked about like how to do that, but you put it on the top and then you kind of just have it at the top looking nice. That could look really, really good. But again, like it's all in the mind frame, right? Like if you feel cute like that, it doesn't matter how many people say like, yes, it looks good, yes, it's gorgeous. It really doesn't matter. Like people, I feel, have to be on these journeys on their own, and they really have to get to this that stage again on their own. And it really is a journey. It's a journey just like everything else. Patricia, I think maybe some are not happy on the look of their natural hair, and the lack of representation of tighter curls might push some to the dark side. Ladies with tight their have hair have proven they get healthy and long. Yes, and that's the thing. So there's also this misconception that like if you've got 4C hair, it's not going to grow long. It can grow long and it can be really beautiful. I think one of the things about 4C hair that are understated, and that I, with my 4C strands, my 4B strands, 4A strands, really suffered with, was not really knowing how to properly treat highly textured hair that has different textures. And so one of the things that really do help is like stretching, you know? For me, I mean, yes, I'm partnered with Revere, but I also talk about Revere because it really did change my game for me. Like keeping my hair blown out, keeping it in a stretch state, avoided those single strand knots to begin with. It avoided the breakage that happens when my hair tangles up on itself. And I feel like it was able to retain more length. I think in the beginning of the natural hair movement, there was a lot of conversation about the fact that you probably need to keep your hair away from all heat sources. You know, you need to keep your hair curly, air dry it, and that's it. Now, air drying your hair definitely can work for some naturals, especially fine naturals, right? Like if you've got type 3 curls, you know, they're looser, maybe they're wavier, for sure. Like if air drying your hair isn't going to add to the situation of knots and tangles, then yes, I think that there's a benefit to that because it is healthier to avoid using heat. But with more tightly, more coilier, kinkier, highly textured strands, you really do have to do a balancing act. And I do wish that more naturals talked about this. More naturals with kinky, coily hair like myself talked about the fact that like air drying is good, but stretching your hair out is even better because you're going to air dry and then what? You're going to have like a nest, right? It's going to be very hard to detangle. And that's the source of so much damage. Like to me, at this vantage point in my journey, almost 400 videos later here on Fine Natural Hair Rocks, I think the biggest piece for retaining healthy length on fine strands is to reduce the manipulation. Even with the weave that I'm rocking right now, like I haven't combed my hair in so long. I did it once at nighttime. I make sure maintain it very well. All of this goes in a ponytail at the back, and I just literally tie my scarf at the top, and it's pressed and it's in its place for the rest of the night, right? Those kinds of things, to do those things makes a difference because it really does reduce the manipulation, right? So yeah, I really do wish that like there was more conversation, because when I'm looking at those who go relaxed versus those who don't, I am starting to see a trend where people with tighter, kinkier, coilier tresses tend to lean back into the relaxers at faster rates than those who have the really loose ringlets that tend to be more accepted in mainstream society. And so I do think that there's quite a bit of misinformation out there, and that's the reason why people are kind of giving up on their journeys. But I mean, if length is something that you want, I'm not afraid to say length is something that I want. You can absolutely achieve that without having to like lean into like dangerous chemicals, right? Um, V2B 2010. I'm very interesting about the effects on the environment. I never thought about that. Yeah, yeah. The chemicals is not sustainable. Our usage on gas and fossil fuels, like none of that is sustainable in this world. And I am happy to see that we've got like, more sustainable methods of transportation, like electric cars and hybrid cars and stuff like that. But it's a thing. It's a whole thing. Coily Code, I wish YouTube would let us edit comments. I know, right? You always have to just do like the little asterisk and change it later. Oh my gosh, there's quite a few of us who feel the exact same way. Yes, that's the thing. They really, I hope if YouTube is watching this, let us edit comments, please. Like, I think you can though. I think you can like hit the little like button on the side. I don't think you can do it for lives, but I think you can absolutely do it for just regular conversations, like underneath videos, right? That's funny. Coily code's killing me. Clary, for me, the different textures have been a challenge. Stretching is great. Using products that attract moisture have helped me. Also, foreseeing the front, looser hair everywhere else. Yeah, yeah. The different textures is definitely a challenge. It's a challenge for styling. It's a challenge for, choosing the right products. But for me, like, if it's not challenging, I'm not interested in it. Honestly, like, I feel like, this is why here on Fine Natural Hair Rocks, I'm always teaching and preaching about learning what works for your hair, because black hair, textured hair in general, like genetics, it's so variable. There's no two people at all who have the exact type of hair. Like, something might work amazingly well for me, but it might actually be very detrimental for you. And so the only way you're going to know that is if you have access to the same kinds of, judgment calls, maybe the same types of look fors that I implement into my regimen, and that others who are having a good time with their natural hair journey implement into their journeys as well. And that will help you. So one such example is, like, instead of me coming on here and telling you that, like, I was looking for a product, but I don't have my products, I'm not in my office. But anyways, one such product, like the Mielle Organics, for example, Babasu and Mint Deep Conditioner. That's something that I always talk about. Like, it's a holy grail for me. If I don't have access to anything and I have access to that, it's a good wash day no matter what, right? That's my hair type. If I come on here and I tell you, look, you should buy this, it's absolutely going to work for you, blah, it might not. It might not. It might not. Like, your hair characteristics might not actually respond very well to that. But what I can tell you is that I know the Mielle Babasu and Mint Deep Conditioner works well for me because I have increased slip. My single strand knots, they're sliding on out. I wash the product out. My hair still feels moisturized. It still feels stronger. Those are the kinds of things I can tell you. And then you can take that information back and now use your products and look for similar benefits, look for similar results after you use your whatever product it is that you're using, right? I think that there's a lot of benefit to that. And I think that's the reason why Fine Natural Hair Rocks has proven to be so helpful to so many of us curl friends out there who have been, like, struggling and, just zipping through all these different YouTube channels in the dark and not really understanding what works the best for you. Um, Okay, Coily Code. I wish there wasn't so much controversy and attention given to natural hair. Like, other races of women just get to be women. We're always made a spectacle of. Yes, I know. You know what? I think it also has to do with the fact that, like, there is no hair type that is as much of an indicator of race as, like, black hair. Like, every other race other than, like, anybody who's black or has, like, black in their lineage, it's a pretty, like, it's one of those characteristics. Like, if you've got an afro, you have black. Like, nobody else has afros other than black people, and it's a beautiful thing. But I do think, like, and this is leaning into American history, but I do think that, like, certain movements, particularly in the 70s with, like, the Black Panther movement and Malcolm X, you know that kind of added a political connotation to it, not because of the movement, but because of the fact that, like, I think even going all the way back 400 years ago to slavery, like, natural hair was such an indicator of blackness, and blackness was so, like, pushed back against and vilified and weaponized and all those kinds of things, that removing that image was something that was politicized almost immediately, because it is such a strong indicator of, like, this divide between blacks and whites and all that stuff. And so I wish it would go away, but I don't think it will. Like, or maybe it will, like, I'm confident and I'm positive that we're moving in better directions, but at least for the immediate future, I feel like there is a lot of controversy and attention that's given to natural hair for sure. V2B 2010, having a good natural hairstylist can really help also. 100%. It's nice to have a check in at least once yearly to make sure you're on the right track. Yes, yes, it is. And I want to shout out my girl Zermarla and shout out my girl Sasha Pinnock in Toronto, who are holding it down. It's very important because, you could be doing all the right things to your hair throughout the year. But one thing that I don't think I've mastered in my 14 years of being natural is trimming my strands myself. Like, there was a time in the pandemic when I did it, and, like, I will never do that again. Like, that like, it worked in the moment, like, being in Canada and being locked down forever, but it didn't necessarily mean that my strands are in a better place. And I do think that I agree with you, V2B 2010, that you do need a stylist to check in with, just to make sure that, like, you are doing the right things are moving in the right direction. Patricia, my hair is healthier as it's ever been since going natural. I love that. I love that. Yes. There's something so liberating about being able to not rely on anything other than the strands that glow. Can't speak. Grow beautifully from your own hair, your own scalp. That is so nice. I love that for you. Clary, if it's not a challenge, I'm not interested. Yes, we're here for that. We're here for that, Clary. HG. I think all the natural hair rules and Nazis made many going back to relaxers. Yeah. Also, perhaps the younger influences growing up and having less time to style their hair. Just some thoughts. Yes, absolutely. I do think there's a couple things going on there. So I do think that the judgmentalness of some in the natural hair community has been a turnoff for them, for some people. And yeah, younger people, like they just don't have the time to be styling their hair. And then you've got school districts that actually, weaponize student codes of conduct, the uniform policy, against Black students. Like, I've had lots of conversations, within my own jurisdictions, within the province of Ontario, Canada wide, with people saying that, like, look, like you need to let the students be able to wear something like a headscarf to class or like a turban to class or whatever it is. Like if she's got her hair half wrapped up and she's got braids or weave or whatever is going on at the bottom, leave the child, let the child be. Like people are doing these things because maybe they didn't have enough time to finish their hair the night before and they need to go to school. Like school is more important. Your education is more important than what's going on the top of the head. You know what I mean? And like, I think that that's another thing. Like there are just so many areas and levels of friction when it comes to Black hair that is just exhausting. I agree with you completely. It's totally exhausting. And it's just, yeah, another reason why maybe one might just do relaxer. Because if you've got the relaxer, like we mentioned earlier, you go to bed one way, you wake up one way, you go in the heat one way, you're all the same way. Whereas we know with natural hair, if you do any of that, you're going to have a different style at every single juncture. Like every single juncture, there's going to be a different style. And it might not necessarily be a good one. Clary, I'm nervous to go to salons. Haven't been since 2010. Really happy to trim my own hair and do all the things. All day at the salon drove me crazy. That's insane. That's crazy. So I feel like a lot of stylists, at least the two that I have now, have kind of moved away from that, thank goodness, in terms of like sitting there all day. But congrats and good on you. You're able to trim your hair yourself. That's fantastic. Like, I think I can maybe do dustings. Like, if there's like, well, this part's not mine, but if it was, if let's use this as an example, like if the top had like, maybe there was like some areas up there that needed like a little dusting, like taking off like a quarter of an inch, I think I'm comfortable with. But going in for a full-on trim, ooh, I don't know about all of that. Girlfriend, this has been absolutely amazing. Like, I just absolutely wanted to come on here, kick it with you, just have a real deal conversation about the natural hair community in which we all, live, work, and play. And this has just been fantastic. I absolutely love you so much. I am going to be back with another video on Monday, not a live stream, but a video. I'll also be back live next week at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back in our normal environment in the office with all the beautiful products listed and shown in the back. I think one of our girlfriends had asked for a tour of all those products, which I am still in the process of making. We'll absolutely show you what products those are. But I just want to thank you so much for joining me on your Friday evening. And thank you so much for being so accommodating and loving and gracious as you always are with, just the tardiness to today. That's not usually the flow of things here at Fine Natural Hair Rocks, but I absolutely wanted to make sure that we connected. And I want to wish you a beautiful weekend. It's going to be hot outside. It's going to be a lot of opportunities to complain and be like, oh my gosh, I'm boiling. But I want you to enjoy it because the winter is coming and the winter is something real, man. It's real. So yeah, Coilicode says it's always lit here. Yes, it is. Brap, 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 brap. It is. It's lit because you're here, Coilicode. It's lit because all you guys are here. Shout outs to every single one of you who make this such a vibe every single Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Patricia, thanks, Lavinia. Really enjoyed the live. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Coilicode. Love yourself. Have a blessed weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah. Bye.